What is up, guys? Welcome back to another GeekaWhat video, and today, in a slightly raspier voice than normal, I'm going to be taking you over a really fantastic $750 gaming PC build for 2018. Capable of some 1080p gaming at high and ultra settings whilst achieving that key 60 FPS mark. This thing is really quite phenomenal. Before I jump into the parts I elected to use and why, let's first look at some performance figures. In the latest AAA titles at 1080p high settings, this build's poised towards that 60 FPS mark. Whether we're talking GTA 5, Overwatch, Just Cause 3, Forza, all of those modern titles are going to do really well on this system. And if you take it back to slightly older, more popular esports titles, your Fortnites, your CSGOs, your World of Warcraft, League of Legends, you're going to see in excess of 100 frames per second in certain scenarios, so this build has definitely got it covered. With the performance figures aside, let's now take a dive into the parts that come together to make this build really possible. But first, before that, I have a question. I bought a new camera lens, so this shot should look extra crispy. Let me know if it looks any good in the comments section below. I certainly hope so, and so does my wallet to an even higher degree. With that being said, the CPU I selected for this build was AMD's Ryzen 5 2600. This chip builds on the success of the initial Ryzen lineup. With 6 cores and 12 threads, it's got some fantastic multi-threaded capabilities that work well in the latest and optimized titles, as well as for a bit of video editing or streaming, rendering on the side as well, which is a nice added bonus. This chip also has a fairly decent 3.4 GHz base and 3.9 GHz boost clock speed for some decent single-threaded performance, and can be overclocked in this build. What really gives AMD the edge in 2018 in terms of that key price to performance proposition is the fantastic included stock cooler. This included stock cooler not only gives some overclocking headroom for the power efficient 65W TDP chip, but isn't going to make your CPU thermal throttle. It also looks fairly nice. It's really nice and quiet as well, which is another key bonus. All in all, you can't go too far wrong, but I will leave links to all the parts mentioned in the description below for different regions and retailers. For the motherboard in this build, I selected the MSI B450 Pro M2. This board is a really fantastic value proposition, sitting on the middle of the road B450 chipset. You've got out of the box compatibility for all the new Ryzen Gen 2, Ryzen Plus CPUs with no worries whatsoever. It also supports overclocking to allow you to get a little bit more free performance with 2 RAM DIMM slots, PCIe 3.0, USB 3.1 Gen 2, and crucially an M.2 SSD slot for future fast storage upgrades. This board really does help to future-proof the build despite its really budget price tag. It looks fairly good in a neutral colour and neutral design, and it's going to allow you to pump more money into other more important areas of your build. For the RAM in this build, for the memory, I selected a simple 8GB DIMM of Corsair's Vengeance LPX. This particular 2666 MHz kit is going to do just fine. Not only is it overclockable through the motherboard, it leaves room for another identical 8GB DIMM to be added later down the line for 16GB of total memory. Once again, thinking about that future-proofing aspect of things. You don't want to go completely mad and future-proof everything to the most ridiculous degree, but if you can think about little things like that, it could save you a lot of headaches down the line. With a fairly neutral black colour scheme that doesn't stand out too much, isn't garish, isn't in your face, these things have got a really fantastic track record with me. I own 32 gigs of it and use them in various systems across my house. All in all, it's a really nice RAM kit that isn't going to break the bank, so you can't go too far wrong. Talking of components that aren't going to break the bank, the storage in this build. I selected a simple 1TB Seagate Barracuda hard drive. The reason I selected to go with this is because it gives 1000GB of fairly quick storage. Whilst the speeds of this drive are not going to be anywhere near on par with an SSD, it simply doesn't cost that much money. An SSD for a 500GB drive is going to set you back at least $170 for a decent drive. This comes in at just $44 with double the storage, which is is going to be plenty for your movies, music, Steam and Origin libraries. All in all, providing you keep your Windows desktop nice and clean, boot up times aren't going to be too bad, and you can always add an SSD in later on down the line, either the SATA or the M.2 variety as alluded to earlier. For the graphics card in this build, I selected the MSI NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1060. This particular model is a 6GB model, and it's great to see graphics card pricing finally coming back down to earth. But James, NVIDIA recently released the RTX series of 2070, 2080 and 2080 Ti cards. Aren't we going to see a replacement for the 1060? Well, yes and no. Hear me out here. Now, whilst I'd be lying if I said I didn't expect NVIDIA to release an RTX 2060 in the not too distant future, that doesn't make this card a bad purchase proposition. As we've already seen from the pricing of the existing 2070, 80 and 80 Ti units, I wouldn't expect you'd be able to pick up a 2060 for all too near the price that these are currently going for. Furthermore, as we've seen from some of the demos, the benefits of ray tracing, while certainly evident, aren't exactly game-changing, and the number of titles that support ray tracing at present, yeah, well, that's 0 at the moment. Now, furthermore, NVIDIA have actually alluded to the fact that the ray tracing functionality will only be available on these slightly higher-end cards. Whether that means the 2060 will get it or not is yet to be discovered. Either way, the point still stands that this is, in my opinion, the best value option right now. If you can pick one up for between $220 and $270, then just go for it. Like, this thing's going to work well at 1080p with a bit of 1440p gaming drizzled in there as well. Try and get the 6GB model if you can, because this does provide a tangible performance upside compared to the 3GB little brother. For the penultimate part in this build, this one's a little bit of a curveball, so hear me out. This here is the GameMax Chroma, with 4 RGB fans and an addressable RGB strip up front with an included remote control. It's a really nice chassis. Now, if you're over in the US, sourcing and availability on some of GameMax's products is somewhat limited. You can find some, but you can't find others. In that case, a good alternative would be Cooler Master's Masterbox 5, the RGB variant. But if you can pick this case up, go for it. The amount of airflow that you get, the RGB looks fantastic as well, and the build experience isn't too shabby. You get a nice metal power supply shield at the bottom as well, with plenty of fan mounting and ventilation. Cable management is also decent with all the right holes in all the right places, and the price tag is really quite phenomenal. For the power supply, I also opted for a GameMax unit. This is a ridiculously cheap 80 plus gold certified fully modular 550 watt unit. To add to that, this thing's also RGB, as you can see from the window in the power supply shield. Now, if you're in America, the same case applies. I will link a good alternative. The Cooler Master Masterwatt Lite 650 or 550 are good options. But if you can pick this thing up, go for it. It's really, really impressive, and the full modular nature keeps cable management super duper easy. With that being said, I think that just about wraps it up for all the parts in today's gaming PC build. If you did enjoy it, make sure to smash that like button and get subscribed for more from me, and as always, we'll see you in the next GeekaWhat video.